Hello, everybody. It's Tanis. We're here to do a DM talk show. And we're already having difficult technicalities. Hey, he's back. Never mind. Fuck you. Hi. Yes, it is never an episode of the stream without difficult technicalities. So we're just here. We're going to be doing like a DM talk show, just talking about like how it feels DMing, how we got into it. We have a variety of like different experiences of being DMs. Like I've been a DM for like, I don't want to say, that hurt. I think Nerdy, you're the most experienced out of all. I'm pretty sure.
That's a statement. I think I started in 2016.
Yeah, so longer than me.
Oh shit! Now I feel old. Thanks.
And then, hey, I can't be the only one. And then I think the newest one is Jedi, because you've only ran. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, god damn it.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
I started DMing in about. Yeah, I started DMing around like 2019. I just never looked back.
And then, well, actually, then that makes Cap the newest one.
I'm the greenest.
Oh, you?
I think so. I've only DM'd once, and I'm working on 2 other projects.
Wow,
that's right. You're the baby.
I'm the baby.
Baby.
So yeah, we got like
the baby
from, like, a whole lot of different people, and like the good thing about this is we get to sit here and talk, and we can answer questions from like the chat and stuff, but also questions from each other. So like JLo, if you wanted to get more into DMing, you have people to ask questions about.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we were kind of getting into a little bit right before the show started, like how I got into DMing. I commented on someone's fucking TikTok post and said, let's fucking play. But I was a player in that game, but me and it was Captain Dadpool. We became friends, and he has his own YouTube show. He had Renegade Science Teacher on, and Renegade Science Teacher Forrest wanted to play like a big charity game, raise money for hungry kids, stuff like that. And Captain Deadpool just goes, I got a guy. It gives him my phone number. It's like, by the way, one of your favorite TikTokers is about to text you. Have fun. Cool. Wonderful. And then we all had a Zoom call about it, and Forrest is like, I want to get this big TikToker, this one, and this one. And I'm like, I know all these people. I'll be fine. It's cool. And
so wait a second.
It just kept happening.
Was that the first game you ever DM'd? The charity game?
So I DM'd like home games and stuff like that for like family members and stuff. But like actually streaming and DMing and really getting into it, that was my start.
Oh, man. You just jumped. You didn't even jump into the deep end. You like jumped off a yacht into the middle of the ocean.
I did. And then that shit just kept happening.
Yeah, real trial by fire situation there.
It was. Not to mention, all of the players were from ADHD TikTok. And there was like, I think, 8 players.
Yeah. Yep.
So I did have a wonderful time. Oh
my God. Yeah, you had Renegade Science Teacher, Norse, Patrick Lawler, Captain Deadpool, Katie, the History Wizard, Natty
Nat, Captain. Oh God, it was all over the place, but it was a great game. I got to meet Odd Pride out of it, which was I may have fangirled a little bit,
just a little.
I controlled it, but like, it was fine. Everything's fine. Everything's cool.
All the squeeing happened internally. It was
Yeah, well, so she had never played before, and she wanted to make like a homebrew kind of race. She wanted to do a Neanderthal. I'm like, okay, we're gonna like adjust a bugbear to it. So it was just me and her on a call, and we did everything, and everything was great. And I said, so now that that's all taken care of, I need like 2 minutes to just. And she's like, "Oh, fucking go for it. Let's go. I'm here." so I went off, and then she goes, "You feel better?" Yeah. She's like, "Thanks. That was very flattering." Yeah, I feel great. I feel wonderful now. And then yeah, I just keep getting players to play, and I got Cap here and Nerdy in a game because I think it was Nerdy. You were talking about how like you never had the chance to really play Curse of Strahd, right?
Yes, I think I was painting a miniature on stream and you popped in out of nowhere and just started talking about Curse of Strahd. And I went, I've heard of that one, never played it. Then you did your famous, well.
Yeah, I was just like, well, guess what? And then like it just so happened that Cap here and then a couple of our other friends were all saying like, yeah, we've all wanted to play Curse of Strahd and we never got the chance. Guess what, motherfuckers? Play Curse of Strahd, let's go.
And like a lot of the stories about Dustin start off with you popped in out of nowhere and said,
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me too. Like I just started noticing Dustin on my feed. We follow each other and we started popping up each other's comments. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, no,
Comes out of nowhere like a ninja.
Like your video started popping up, and I was like, hey, this guy's pretty funny.
So that's what I'm gathering from all of these stories is that Dustin is pretty much just like a living embodiment of Faye. He just kind of pops out of nowhere and was like, hey, I've got this proposition for you.
It's not always me. It's not always me. So Roll for Cake, that crew got thrown together by Norse. So he texted me. He's like, hey, like I'm going through some shit and I want to play a goddamn game. And I'm like, cool. You got anybody in mind? He's like, yeah, I got a message out to a couple of people. Oh, cool. Who are you getting? And then he just listed it. I'm like, sure.
oh, that makes it even worse. Dustin is an MLM Fae because Norse was one of the people he had collected, and then Norse went out and collected. So we're like his Pokemon.
You're letting
He's
my
Ash
secrets
and
out.
we're Pokemon.
I mean, because you
Collect them all.
Yeah.
There's that. So someone in chat, as Morik, he's actually we grew up together. He's been super quiet his whole life. Yeah, like I wasn't this kind of person all the time. So
Saved it up.
yeah, TikTok has opened a lot of doors, including the door of like just gathering awesome fucking people to play games with.
See, that's
not to get political, but that's why we're gonna fight for it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
See, but this is why he doesn't have a whole lot of like nerdy stuff like easily accessible, because his collection is all the people that he's been able to run games with.
Yeah, that has been pointed out before.
It is the weirdest case of human trafficking I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Listen, I don't want to brag, but I have collected both of the TikTok Jesuses. So
That's right.
I did get them both.
I'm
got
sorry,
Scotty?
TikTok who?
TikTok Jesus. I got Jagazus and
Oh, gee,
Scotty
okay.
Warthy.
That's what I thought I heard.
I got both them.
Yep.
Incredible.
Don't ask me how that happened because I'm still trying to figure that out.
That is a weird day. I'll put up a video occasionally and it'll pop up in the notifications. It'll say Scotty Wartooth has liked your video, and then it'll say Renegade Teachers liked your video. And I'm like, that's intense. That's a lot.
You know what was intense? When you first jumped in and we were playing that one shot with Taco, and Taco goes, wait, I recognize you.
Yeah. That was a lot. Honestly, I feel like because that was a little bit before the the 10th of February. I feel like that was part of like what put the octane back in my gas tank to start making content again. I was like, that
You got
dude
noticed.
knows who I am.
You got noticed. Well, there's one thing I want to ask, a DM question here. Jedi, what got you into DMing?
So one night our regular DM wasn't available, and someone was like, "Hey, who wants to run?" And I just said, "I'll give it a shot."
Isn't
And
that
found like
how
a
it happens like for so
Yeah.
many people. Well, our regular DM didn't show
Yeah.
up, and I'm the sucker who got it.
Yeah, and then like I ran my first session for a group of friends. It was like some like little like one. It was like a few minute like one shot I found on D&D Beyond. I
Yeah.
ran it. They fought like broomsticks for an hour, and like then like a flesh golem, and they had fun. It was a nice time. But that was my first like DM. My first time ever like recording or streaming something like DM wise. On Star Wars TikTok, a mutual of mine, Darth Chaka, reached out saying like, "Hey, you like Star Wars? You like D&D? Let's do like a Star Wars tabletop thing." And we did like a Star Wars like tabletop High Republic thing, and that was my first like
nice.
instance of like, oh, this is how you like do it, like recording and putting your content out there. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like those are my two like first time like DM cherry popping moments.
Hey, it sounds like it went pretty smooth at least. So
Yeah,
could've
there
been
there
worse.
were moments, like there were some hiccups, but it was everyone had fun, and that's what mattered.
Nerdy, I've heard your story before, but let's go ahead and tell everybody else. I love yours.
My story starts with wanting to learn to play D&D and having two incredibly awful DMs for various reasons. Either they ended up being an awful person or just not the best DM. And I hate shitting on DMs because, they're few and far between, but railroady and just didn't take like player consent and all that into consideration, and just I was in two campaigns that just fell apart like almost instantly. And I'd made friends through those campaigns that we got along with the players, but just didn't have a DM. And my glorious husband had a wonderful idea where he wanted to play a game that was all Dragonborn bards who would go around as a group called Dragon Force. And he told our friends about it, and they all fell in love with the idea and started like getting art for it. And I'm like, you guys don't have a freaking DM. What are you going to do? And literally at the table, everybody turned and looked at me, and I went, fuck. All right. I've only played the game like 5 times. Like this is going to go well. Sure.
And Cap, yours?
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
So you had DM'd my first games that were streamed, and obviously I caught that addiction real hard. And then just having the books around and talking about it with my then 12-year-old. Eventually, over time, she got interested enough that she decided she wanted to play, and so it was her one friend, or no, her and her 2 friends. And just put together like a one shot for them. That was the first group I ever DM'd for, and the only group I've ever DM'd for in person. I have DM'd for one grown folk in person, but just running it for teenagers, which is like extra chaotic because it's already a chaotic environment, and they're teenagers, so they are just pure chaos gremlins. And it's interesting because I feel like DMing for kids actually prepared me more for DMing for adults, because adults are a little less chaotic. Like they're chaotic, but in a less chaotic way, weirdly. But that was in August of 2022 that I started the kids game.
Yeah. And then JLo here.
Yeah.
So I've actually been really fortunate. that the group that I play with currently is such a great group. The DM that we have, it's a gentleman by the name of Wolfpack Dice on TikTok.
He's
It's
in the
kind of,
comments.
yes, he is. He put together this homebrew world that we've been playing in that for almost for over 2 years now.
Nice.
But throughout the course of that, you know, there's been times where we've wanted, you know, he's either working on some other stuff or he's had stuff in personal life where he's not been able to do it. And some of us from the group have kind of stepped in and offered to DM, and it kind of, the topic came up of like, hey dude, why don't you give it a shot? And that was one of those like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't know the first thing about this. And
man,
having that conversation with him of like, you're severely overthinking this.
yeah,
Just create the story, let them know what they need to roll. Kind of all you're there to do is kind of guide them through this experience that they will create for themselves as the players. You're just there to kind of guide through certain scenarios and situations. I feel like I kind of did a kind of swan dive into the deep end because I didn't do like a one shot like a module for the one shot. I homebrewed the first one shot that I did. And at the end of it was like, this was probably more of like a session 1 for a campaign, but it's a good framework to start with. But it definitely kind of got that bug planted where I wanted to do it.
You can't DM and then just not ever DM again.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
God.
I think for
It's
me
a
the
drug.
the hard thing is absolutely and I think for me is that it's that being my own worst critic and being my own worst enemy in the process, in the creative process of like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to I don't want people to not have a good time. Like, I don't want to make it seem like they just wasted, 3, 4, 5 hours of their lives, doing this thing. And luckily I have a very supportive partner and a very supportive DM and group that are like, dude, you're going to be fine. Just quit your bitching, quit your whining, and just do the
Does
thing.
that sound like?
I will
Word
let
for
you know
word.
you're the only person in this whole group who has ever felt that. The rest of us have never had any doubts.
No. Word for word, you
Not
just
even-
described Cap. 100%.
155.3%. Yep. I had that conversation with Dustin probably 3 or 4 times before I finally jumped off the board. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about it a whole lot, and then I
Yep.
just recently even got to play a game under Nerdy. That was a lot of fun. She's only ever been a player in my games, so she finally got to DM for me, and it was wonderful, wasn't it? We
Yeah, it was-
absolutely didn't fuck anything up.
Oh, it was wonderful and chaos. My only regret is I'm used to doing 12-hour sessions, so trying to do one in 2 hours, that was a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I have an uncanny ability to
Can't
keep
imagine
my
having the
games
time for that.
short enough for 2.5 hours. Like they always end up, not always, but most of the time they just end up in a perfect spot to quit. And I just, yeah, that's
Listen,
one
I think
DM ability I have.
I was just gonna say, I think that's an acquired skill of like feeling that moment when it hits and just calling it, because there is that impulse to keep going. Like I made that
Yeah.
mistake early on with the kids session, going like 4.5 hours, and it's like they can't go that long, and then, like
With
hitting that point.
How great of a feeling is it when they go, like, what do you mean we're done?
Yeah, no, fuck that. Let's keep going.
Let's
Like,
keep going. It feels so
Oh.
good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Fucking when the roll for Cake Crew.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta
like,
you gotta
this is a
call your
campaign now,
shot.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey Wolfpack, can we have a 12-hour long session?
It's really like almost like a sniper skill. You gotta really like call your moment, like, yeah, this is the cliffhanger moment, and they're not gonna see it coming. It's gonna and it really like floors them.
Yeah.
absolutely, because
Yeah.
I think I mean, to Cap's point, it's like I don't think anyone here, and so many people in the chat, that if we're playing in a game and playing in a session, and they're like, "Do you guys want to stop? Or you guys want to keep going?" No one would really say, "Nah, I think I want to call it for the night." Most people would be like, "Nah, I'm in it. Let's keep doing this."
Yeah.
But having that, like you said, having that awareness, reading the room, reading the scenario, and having the self-control to be like, okay, you know what, this is going to be that good point to either leave it on a cliffhanger or round out this portion, round out this session at a point where there won't be so much to have to go back and replay or re-walk through at the beginning of next session.
See, the fun part.
Do we want to share some of? I'm sorry.
In a second, but the fun part with playing with Cap is never got to worry about that because that man takes such good notes. We have entire wikis. Like anything we need to know, check the wiki.
I've watched the recap videos that he's posted on TikTok, and I'm like, I've never watched a single session up to this point, and I already know I am up to speed and up to date. I know what's going on.
More than once, I have forgotten what happened and had to go back and listen to the recap. That's what okay.
No, yeah.
Jedi, what were
And
you
it
gonna say?
all started just for me because I was just like, I just want to know. Like I want to make sure I have the details straight in my head. So that was the wiki was just my like electronic notebook.
Yeah, and then you started plugging in numbers of like who did how much damage to what, and breakdowns of every single combat. Because you're a friggin' nerd.
Did you see what popped up in chat? It said Nimue like highlighted Cap and it said world's second okayest DM but the world's best note taker.
Yeah. I'm the world's okayest DM here.
That's
Let's
right.
never mistake that. Jedi,
I still have because
I was gonna ask, like, did we want to go around like share what we thought like some of our like best like cliffhanger endings we've ever done before was?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to think about that.
Well,
Mine's easy. Mine's easy.
Yeah, go ahead, JLo. Jeez.
So the way that I rounded out the one shot, and that was the moment that I realized that this really wasn't a one shot. This was the intro to a mini series or a campaign that at some point will need to be completely expanded upon and refreshed. Was having the party enter this cavern, this cave, that they were trying to rescue an emerald dragon that had been trapped there, and having that dialogue of the thank yous, but letting them know that there was still more to be found and more to be rescued in order to, preserve the realm and save the realm from destruction. Then I was like, you know what? When I wrote that, I should have like seen that there, and it didn't. Yeah, I think that session ended up running like 6 hours. So it was yeah. There's lots of notes in hindsight, but
I like that though. That's fucking cool. What about you, Jedi?
I think for me, I had a group of friends who wanted to play for the first time, and I said, "Yeah, I'll run Lost Mines of Phandelver. Easy adventure to run, great for beginners." And they were exploring the cave, and they were like, "Yeah, no, there's something going on in this cave." And they're like, "All right, I want to explore it." And I like told them like they walk in, you hear a chain go taut and something snap at your face, and I ended it right there. and they were like, they were so upset. They were so like, "What are we playing next? What are we playing?"
You're a
good
dick.
grief, dude.
I still got to think of mine. Cap, do you have one?
One that I had, I think I read this off a blog, this idea. One of the kids' more recent sessions, they're traveling from one town to another, and there was a little plot hook, took them off the trail, and they found a clearing, and they found some NPCs that were essentially asking for help. And in the middle of the conversation, an arrow was shot at the NPC, and it missed, and I had them roll initiative and ended it. Yeah. And the idea was to essentially so that you don't have the scenario that you were describing where you end a session and it's like, oh, we can do this and we can do this and we can do this, and then they come back and they do something completely unexpected.
Yeah.
The idea was you put them in a spot where you know what you're doing at the beginning of the next session. The next session starts with combat.
See, that's good. That's good
Mhm.
planning. I
Hmm.
kind of suck at that. So
No.
I have improved, but what about you, Nerdy?
I was trying to think of one, and I've had a couple of good ones, but I remember made I made a player cry because I ended it at what was the best moment thematically, but worse for her. Essentially, they were at the Library of Candlekeep, and it was being attacked by one of the BBEG's underlings, and this was their first introduction to the BBEG. So of course, it was a situation that they had to run away from, and they were trying to plane shift with a more powerful NPC, and my BBEG was counterspelling it. So one of their NPC love interests decided to stay behind to counterspell the counterspell.
Oh,
Oof.
And
no.
they escaped. They plane shifted to the Feywild. And I described the scene where they arrive, and I said, that's where we got to end it, because I don't know what's going to happen to him until I roll for it. So
that's gonna lead into
she
a
was
question
very
of mine.
mad at me for a
Wow.
while.
For my answer, real quick, it was dropping Pierce.
Fine.
So
It's fine.
Cap's character has a brother, and he's like this secret agent kind of character, and he had infiltrated the cult that they're all dealing with, and the last they saw of him was he was there, and he might have just gotten caught, and they didn't know for weeks. And I didn't know. I didn't want to just decide, okay, he's caught and he's dead, or taken or whatever. So I rolled for it. I had I made up a whole table and I rolled for it, and I rolled the worst one. So the next thing they saw at the end of the session was this flying ship came out of a rift in between realms, and they saw Pierce get thrown off of the ship and in midair turn into this giant, like 200-foot shadow thing. And that's where I
fine.
ended that.
It's fine. I'll give you a preview. I'll give you a preview of the preview. I refer to him as the momentarily deceased changeling Pierce Leafspring.
Yeah. But no, he's quite gone. And they did find out that, yeah, his soul isn't even there. So even resurrection won't work.
Momentarily.
It's nifty.
Yeah, on this note, if anyone's not in chat, not watching Mountain of Mystery,
Oh yeah.
if you want to see one of the players cry on stream, just watch that, because
Well,
he got me last game.
that leads into one of my questions. Have you made a player cry? And when was your first time, or your favorite time doing that? J-Lo, no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But you're gonna.
But I'm working on it.
See, like, I love making players cry. I realize how that sounds, but what I mean by that is I love being able to create such a strong emotion that it creates like a physical reaction to this story that we're playing, that we're telling together.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it just seeing a physical reaction is wonderful. Like I get the same feeling when they're cheering or happy. It's just funnier to say. It's fun to make them cry. um,
Yeah.
So, what about you, Jedi? Have you gotten a?
Yes, I feel bad because like I've made the same player
We
cry
all feel
twice.
bad.
Yeah, like the first time though, like I was like I'm running a campaign for them right now, and it was like an arc system. So their first villain of their first arc was like the characters, like the player character's like long lost sister, and like who had been like looking for her, and like. So it was this weird thing of like I want to connect with you, but you're doing bad things. And then there was a part where like the party split off from that player character and encountered the sister by themselves. And I told them like you see in her eyes rage, but something else, a sister's love. And then my player just started like bawling her eyes out on the couch.
Man.
And I'm like, oh, and they're like, sorry, we can take a break. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cap, did we?
I don't
did
think
any of
I've
us
made
cry?
anybody. I don't think I've made anybody cry, but the two moments that I can think of that I feel like were the most powerful from my end was Shiloh's vision, and
Yeah.
yeah, where
That
but see,
did hit.
and the interesting part about it is I had a little bit of an unfair advantage with that arc because it was a flashback, so I was able to foreshadow things I knew were coming in the timeline. In
Yeah,
that way.
For those that don't know, for Mountain of Mystery, Cap DM'd a flashback, like 6 episodes of the characters. Most of their parents were in a party, so
Gotcha.
I got to play Cap's father while he DM'd. So
the other
Nice.
one, and they didn't cry, but they did most of the work, was when New Moon had the interaction with the entity,
yeah,
and then the dream where he got to interact with Prince. Meg and Tiff did all that work. That was not me.
but you set that up, and
I put them in the
matters.
room. Yeah,
That matters.
but they did that
You
work.
did
That
that.
was, and
You
then you
did that.
took it away.
Still hurts in a good way.
Took it away.
Yeah.
Now I've made players cry a few times.
Mhm.
I think one of my favorite remains one that wasn't streamed. It was a game with me and a bunch of other friends. So there was one character. She had no memory of her past life. She's been around hundreds of years, and just everybody. She just avoids people, and she's just alone all the time. She ends up joining the party, and everything's going on. It was a pirate campaign, and they end up running into this other crew that joins them. One of them was a mysterious guy named X, Xavier, but they end up finding out that he was a revenant. He's also been around hundreds of years, usually alone, and those two characters interacted, and neither of it, we didn't talk about it. It just happened that they ended up falling for each other, and it was a wonderful thing. But it came to the point where X was like, hey, the reason I'm still here is I can't beat the thing that's keeping me here. You're all stronger, and I want your help. So they agreed, and they went to the person who's keeping him there. They fought him, beat him, and he was no longer tethered to the material plane. So he faded away in front of them. And
Tears were shed.
hard enough that the player that had fallen for X, the player, the character, she's like, hey guys, I need some time. Real quick, we just got rated by people with 69 viewers. Stakuni, thanks, buddy.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
Very nice. I hope you waited until you had 69 to do that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Nice.
Nice.
But not that. And then last session of Mountain of Mystery, I made Nerdy cry. She had a joke named character, Fresh Prince, whose parents were bells and air. You know, she went to find her Uncle Phil, and I turned.
It's
that
always the joke
into-
characters, man. It's
Yeah.
their sleeper hits.
like Taco.
Yep.
I want to reiterate to everyone right now that Taco's whole thing, I did nothing. That was, we just said, hey, he's got to have a tragic backstory, and I'm like, okay, do you have an idea? He's like, I got a few. I'm gonna write them out tonight. Do you want to see them? I'm like, absolutely not. I want to be able to hear it when everyone else does. So I had no knowledge ahead of time. I didn't help him write it. Nothing. That was all him. So all that pain you all experienced, it wasn't my fault, okay?
But again, you take credit because just like I put Moon and Prince in the room,
Yeah. Okay. We're talking
you
like
put-
98-2 split for
Yeah.
blame, okay?
But-
98-2.
But
that's okay.
what a beautiful thing to be the individual who created the space for that backstory to
yeah.
be told.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things
Yeah.
that like the conversations and one of the things I tell Wolfpack when we do anything regarding character backstory, and how those stories have developed and changed. Particularly, my friend Mamie, her character's backstory and front story revolved around her and her twin sister, and
Mm.
how those two characters found themselves on opposing sides of this struggle that our party is in. And in one of the last sessions resulted in my friend offing her sister in order to essentially help progress the world state in saving the world. And we,
Dude,
there
the
was
same thing happened in my sessions.
it's there was things that happened that we were able to my character was able to cast Revivify and stuff in order to bring her back and kind of, but the way that he described it and how he talked about things, and the dominate person spell that broke when she was brought back, and how we realized that he painted that picture that she was not really in control of herself for her own actions, but the responses and the way that Mamie reacted and acted through those interactions were so raw and they were so real, because our DM created an environment in a world where we were able to feel, and where we're able to feel and experience this world on a level that is so much more personal, and it's so much deeper than just a game where we roll dice and do some math to figure out whether we win or lose at the end of the day. So take the credit where it's due, man, because you created that space for him to be able to elicit such a true, raw human experience and response.
May would like to clarify that they didn't kill their real life sister, just their pretend sister.
Just to pretend.
Yeah. Thanks for the
But what about-
clarification. We appreciate that.
That's right. Kill
but
your
I
player
did call
characters,
in
not
real
your
life. Yeah.
But what have I told you? What have I told you, Dustin? You are the axis upon which all of these planets orbit.
I'm just here, man. I'm just here telling stories and rolling some dice. Shit just keeps happening.
It's the way it's
that's
supposed to
pretty
be.
much it. Yeah,
And
and you're doing it right.
Oh, my brain just turned off. Hold on.
Well, speaking of the whole,
That's that adult ADHD
speaking of the
right
whole
there.
killing a sister. That the last episode of Roll for Cake had something similar with Valexia.
Yeah. Valexia had to kill one of their family members. Also,
Kill or be killed.
it's funny because a lot of the players are like, "Yeah, we saved Valexia," and I'm like, "Did you? Is that what you did?" Okay. And I said that.
Interpretation.
Sure you did.
Poor Allie was like, "What do you mean? What do you what?
What do you
by
mean?
What?
that?" Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, We'll find out tomorrow, won't we?
At least partially.
I very much love getting players like on that edge of like, wait, what do you mean? What the fuck do you mean by that? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you do it to us all the time, yeah.
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't do it
And
if it wasn't so much fun.
And not even by saying things, by asking things. You'd be like,
oh yeah.
yes, but have you considered this? And also, do you think this? And I'm like, see, now I'm just gonna lay awake for the next 7 days.
Now I'm
Who do
conflicted.
you think it is? The entity really is like where does it come from? Like what is it? Mm.
Yeah.
And then they have a bunch of theories and they go, is that
Hey.
right? I don't know.
Could be.
I once was teasing something to a player. I think she was on the verge of like an actual panic attack. So I'm like, Brooke, we can calm down and like I can tone it down if it's too much for you. She's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
are you sure?
Yeah. Checking in on the players is very important. I did look over in chat real quick. Blue had a question. What advice would you give for someone that wants to try DMing? Fucking do it. Just don't worry. Just do it.
Was it JLo or Jedi earlier who brought up that they felt they weren't ready, but their DM said you're
JLo.
overthinking it?
Halo.
That right there. That's
You
It-
can't
it's- you
sit
just gotta
there and like worry. You just gotta do it.
so many people want to make sure that they have everything figured out. They know every rule. They know the ins and outs of their campaign. They know the beginning, middle, and end. And you're never going to do that.
Yeah.
Because even if you did
Yeah.
session 1, your players are going to veer left when you thought they'd go right, and you got to redo it anyway.
And-
You just got to try. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But at least you tried
Absolutely.
it.
Well, and one of the things that I've taken from my experience of running that one shot, and in the process of working on a mini series that I want to do, and talking with my DM, watching my DM run games, watching other DMs run games, is like, to your point, you can sit there and plan for every situation. You can try to know every mechanic, every rule as much as you want to, but there's that one factor, that one element in the game that you really can't plan for until it happens. And it's that essential DM discretion rule of cool. What are you as the person, as the DM, willing to allow or not allow, or kind of give concessions on for the sake of the quality of the game?
That leads to a good question. Was there a time where you allowed something that technically wasn't allowed in the rules, but you were like, "Fuck it, rule of cool"?
Oh,
Yeah.
every session.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I do it all the time. I literally, my catchphrase is, "I'll allow it," because I allow the most fuck shit things.
I remember my favorite.
Yeah. What was your favorite? It doesn't even have to be like DMing. When was your favorite time something like that happened?
It was when I was DMing and I said, you know what? Fuck, yes, your character would be able to do this. We had an incredibly charismatic bard to the point where the player was incredibly smooth in real life. So like every time that they gave bard inspiration, we all had to kind of take a minute and go, okay, whew, all right, gotta stop. But his character was on a flying ship and needed to jump off to go attack a monster. So he true polymorphed himself into a red dragon. And his girlfriend hopped on his back to fly away. And he said, I'm a dragon right now, but can I still bonus action give her bardic inspiration? I said, okay, how are you going to do that? Just curiosity. How are you going to do that? He said, I'm just going to take my tail and smack her on the ass. I went, yeah, that'll do it. Okay. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
That is the correct answer.
I would have even just gone with they're riding a fucking dragon. That's pretty inspiring right there.
Absolutely. I was just like, where are you going with this? Because I know you and you've got a thought in your head.
Depending on which side of the encounter you're on, it's either very intimidating or very inspiring.
That's true. That's true. What about you, Jedi?
No, that's actually how you win D&D.
Yeah,
You
that's how
can win, and that's how.
What about you, Jedi?
I think the one time, I let my one of my favorite players, Alanis, I let her really stretch how far a minor illusion can go because she just has these insane ideas of things to make.
Mhm.
Like when there were
Mhm.
2 instances of like using minor illusion that come to mind where there's like, oh, these goblins are guarding this entrance, and she goes, I want to make a busty goblin woman that walks while Seabat plays in the background, and I'm just like, I can't say no to that. All right,
Who says no to
like,
busty
sure.
goblin women? Let's be real.
Like, I was like, sure, you can have it. And then like she role played as like this like goblin woman of the night trying to lure them away from the guard post. And there's another great time where like there was this bandit camp, and they were like, how do we infiltrate the bandit camp? All right, we're gonna make a giant check, walk up to them, tell them that they want a prize, they have to let us in. I'm just like,
Yes.
you can try that.
You're damn right. You can do
Sure,
that.
Oh my god.
make a check. Make a giant oversized check and tell them how they won a prize.
That's the Publishers Clearinghouse
Yeah,
version
yeah, I
of
was
our Lord
gonna
and
say,
Savior.
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
amazing.
tempted to play with this person now, but it would be way too confusing because she's Alanis and I'm Tannis, and that would just
I could see that being a problem.
yeah, that'd be a big problem. But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Incredible.
What about you?
I
Jay?
hit him with like some. Oh, I'm sorry. Good.
Yeah, you hit him with what? Keep going. I'm here.
I hit him with. They walked up with a check, and they were like, "Congratulations, you won a check." And I had the bandit go, "What's a check?" And they were like, "Oh no."
Oh, that's amazing. It's
And
a piece
just
of
like
paper
that.
that you take to a bank.
That's a
They
great
literally
idea, guys.
explain
I'll
the
absolutely allow it. It won't fuck up
They
anything at all.
They spent like 20 minutes explaining the concept of a check to this bandit. I am not kidding you.
That is
Amazing.
I'm
And
sorry.
that's how you fill a
Go ahead and
session.
move
If you
on.
feel like you don't have enough material, you let your players do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll allow it, but I'm also going to derail what you were trying to derail in the process.
Mhm.
Speaking of derailing, like you know how many times that like players are like, yeah, I'm gonna ruin the DN plan or something. Guess what? I don't have one. You can't ruin my plan because I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
I roll with it, baby. Good luck.
So that's the DM advice that I picked up was don't make plans. Just know what your bad guys are doing, and
Yeah.
then figure out how what your players are doing affects that, and then that
Yeah.
dictates how everything else
Ooh.
sort of trickles around it.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I told. So my biggest thing when I'm creating something, like here's what who the big guy is, or big bad guy is. Here's what he wants, and here's what he's got to do to do that thing. That's it. And then the players interact with that however they do, and like if they fuck up step 2, then he needs to do 3, 4, and 5 in a different way. And if they fuck up step 4, he's pissed and he's gonna try to kill them. Like, it's that's the best way I have found to come up with a story that is derail proof, or as derail proof as it could be.
I will
Mhm.
say though, when you plan an epic like battle on the water, like with ships and everything, and you have studied the statistics and how to run this, and then your player
this is
comes
going.
in with their sorcerer and has control water
Yup.
and just absolutely devastates the enemy fleet. Just
Kate did that
because-
to me.
no,
Mm.
just
Kate.
damn it. Well,
Uh,
This was supposed to be an
Yep.
epic battle, guys, but I'm just gonna sit back and let this catastrophe happen.
That's when the
Four
Krakens
rules of
crawl out of the
D&D.
trench.
Rule 1, make a plan. 2. Yep, pretty much. You're right, buddy. You're right.
Someone, Archaeo Wolf _01
Yeah.
said you lie and mimic chandelier. There's a
Yeah,
story
no,
there.
Okay. So
Mhm.
Uncle Wolf
Nick
never played.
And the weird?
So I ran his first campaign, and he played a Luxodon, a mammoth elephant person, and he is why I can't plan things. He's why I learned to not plan for shit. Like there's so many things with him. Like one thing was like there was a bunch of archers in the woods, and he could tell the general direction, but he couldn't tell where they were. They were just crossing this river, and he said, "Okay, we're crossing a river. It's probably a bunch of river stones, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm a Luxodon. I have a really big fucking hand, right? Yeah. Okay, so I take as many rocks as I can, and I just shotgun.
Blindly chunk them into the woods.
I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That works. And then they were dealing with a mimic inside of like this cave type area, and there was like it was like an ancient treasure room with a rusty chandelier. And he's like, I know how I'm gonna deal with this. And he had spider climb cast on him by someone else. He walked up, grabbed onto the chandelier, and stopped spider climbing. And his 300-pound ass just pulled the thing down and landed on the mimic. Cool, wonderful. There was another
Wow.
time they were in a windmill fighting a bunch of hags and a flesh golem. So he was on the second floor and he needed to get onto the first floor. So he ripped a gear out of the windmill and busted through the wall and came down and hit the flesh golem with the gear, and then threw the gear and rolled. I think it was a natural 20. I'm pretty sure, and pinned one of the hags to the wall with the gear, and then just reached up to like the last support beam and just pulled.
Oh my god.
That's just
That's
some
more-
of the crazy fucking shit this man does.
That's Morgan in a nutshell.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
Morgan Archewolf. He's a fucking problem.
In
Him
the
and
best
Taco playing
possible way.
together is a huge problem.
They're the wow. That looks like that took you a lot of time and plan to put that together. It would be a shame if someone just walked in and broke all of it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So in his first campaign, I was like, okay, they're in a dungeon. We're playing D&D. I'm gonna put a dragon in front of him. He gets to fight a dragon for his first time. He decided to talk to the dragon. He ended up selling the dragon real estate and having it leave. It just went like, all right, cool, and fucked off.
That's
I'm like, fucking.
It's Dungeons and Dragons and down payment.
dragon real
It's Dungeons and down payments.
Yeah,
well,
trust me, I can laugh at that now.
well, it's like
Threw me the fuck off.
Mamie from my group. She did something similar with the dragon
My-
turtle
my
that was getting ready
player
to attack our group.
Just defeated their dragon in a very different way.
I love it. I'm always here for it. That's why, like, so the last session of Roll for Cake, they stomped a deadly encounter. Like, it was a very deadly encounter, and they got through it real easy. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go fight this dragon, and we're gonna handle it just fine." I'm like, "Cool. I'm gonna change some stuff. It's
Yep.
still a dragon." And that's
Yeah,
all the information I've given them. And
The
they're all like,
information they got from a Fey Lord. That's an unreliable narrator.
That I mean, they trust Reynard.
I know.
That's their own
Nobody's rolled
problem.
insight on him. He
No
talks
one
and
has.
they just listen.
Not one person has rolled insight on Reynard.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that
I-
Brick is just so like,
Yeah,
yep, seems good. Like
nah, he's good.
Oh, yeah.
He's fine.
That's
They're
a character
taking-
choice.
they're taking
Yeah,
the
that's a
bugbear
character.
at his word of, nah, he checks out.
Yeah.
I love when the players immediately trust the NPC. You want them to trust. I'm like, oh, thank God, no more effort. Sick.
So,
yeah.
Curse of Strahd I threw in a character, Vasily von Holtz, this bumbling idiot of a nobleman who was very helpful to them, very kind to them. They saved his life. You know, it was always wonderful, and they all trusted him because like he's just this silly guy.
Just a guy. He's
And
silly
then they
for
find
silly.
out he was a simulacrum of Strahd. Way later, after they made him mayor of a town, and then they came back to the
Incredible.
town and everything was destroyed.
Yep, that sounds right.
Ah! Oops.
Ugh.
You know,
I-
choices were made
had a
and
moment,
consequences were experienced.
Yep.
I had a moment like that in my Tomb of Annihilation campaign where they first meet like this person who's a lich in disguise, and they're like, yeah, no, she seems cool, and they like eat the food there, and then they're like, yeah, no, she's like a pretty cool chick, and then like she name drops the person that's been hunting them. They go like, guys, we ate her food. We ate her food. I'm like, your vision goes wobbly.
Someone just commented, I wish I could do it justice, but I know a DM that worked that managed to work in the entirety of the song "The Land Down Under" into his campaign. So funny thing,
Oh my
I
god.
was a player. I played a bard named Beltharius. He kept finding snippets of a song, like carved into walls or into ancient stones and stuff. And when the end of the campaign was here, I ended up sacrificing myself to save the entire city and my friends. And the DM texted me. He's like, by the way, here's what the song was. And you find the last piece right before this. I go, okay. And I tell everybody, I cast Wish and I do this, and I'm going to save the entire city. And he pulls out his loot and he says, well, anyway, here's Wonderwall. And the DM played Wonderwall as he narrated how I saved the world.
That's incredible.
Amazing.
Oh my.
Yeah. Don't, but this was the kind of game where like we met Sandy Claus. We got rescued by a bald guy who really cared about his family. Yeah. Yeah.
Fair.
There was a lot of that. It was just references upon references, and it was beautiful.
Mhm. See now, Nerdy, do the references hurt you, or is it just the puns?
Kind of depends.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
We
Sometimes
wreck
they do.
Nerdy with puns.
Shut up. Don't tell. Don't tell people my weakness.
Meanwhile, that's her almost like the bulk of her character story is built on puns.
Yeah.
In this
But the
campaign.
one time, okay?
I know.
Yeah. For those that haven't seen it, what I did with her name, you know, Fresh Prince and all that. So like before she was born, her father had died. He sacrificed himself, and his twin brother, Uncle Phil, was there when she was born. So he took her outside, and they sat in a like a snowstorm. While the mother was recovering, and he was just sitting with the baby, the last piece that he had of his brother. And when the snowstorm broke, he stood up and was headed back inside when he realized next to him was a set of Fresh Prints the size of his brother's. And so he named her Fresh Prince. Yeah.
And her tribe is the matriarchs of her tribe are Sound of Bells and Wisp of Air, so it is the Bells Air tribe.
Yep.
Oh my god.
She's the Fresh Prince. of Bel Air.
Yeah.
I don't know, as someone who's
I love
actually
it.
from Philadelphia, I don't know if I can
And-
laugh at these.
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
I don't know if these are funny.
Oh my god.
So much better.
Yes.
Like I'm wearing green right now, guys. Like, come on.
Nice. Yep. Where's my Philly stuff? I don't have my Philly stuff. See, this
Damn.
is well. Here you go. This is. I mean,
Um,
this is right on my bookshelf. So.
Heck
real
yeah.
quick, we do have like a channel point thing where people can do channel points and ask more questions. Oh, Blue had one. More detailed question. What are some steps that a person can take that is a chronic overthinker that wants to try DMing? Hey, Cap, you got this one.
If you're a chronic overthinker, well, okay, so if you're a chronic overthinker and you can't get yourself out of the habit of I have to plan for every eventuality, because you can't plan for every eventuality. So you're going to be like, well, if the players do this, then I want to have then this will happen. If they do this, I want this to happen. If they do this, do all of that stuff. Like jot those things down and then put them aside. Because if your players do this thing, that doesn't mean all of these things can happen. That just means they're not going to happen now. That means you have now created scenarios that you can use down the line. So it's not a matter of like, I did 100% of the work and they're only going to experience 5% of it. They're going to experience this 5% now, and this bit just shifts over this way.
Yep. Everything you prepped can be used at a different spot.
Exactly.
It's Schrodinger's story.
Yeah,
What they don't know hasn't happened yet.
exactly.
You can just reflavor it to fit
Mhm.
whatever the
Mhm.
scenario needs.
Yeah,
Right,
and
yeah.
never be afraid to change things in the middle of the game. Like, you
Mhm.
know, if this is actually the BBG,
I think that's a given.
Yeah, like always be able to shift. Like if this is actually the BBG, but like through story reasons, like one of them goes like, "Oh, I wonder if he's mind controlled," and that would make a better story if he was. Fuck, he's mind controlled now.
Mhm.
BBG is someone else. Where?
Yep.
I don't know yet. Doesn't matter yet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yep.
I take it Blue is considering trying DMing.
Maybe.
I don't
Another
know.
thing
I don't
learned
know
from
if
the-
it's. Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say another thing I learned from the kids is that if you don't have like an overarching story, you're cool just starting with like a little teeny adventure, and if you play consecutive sessions, the players will create their own bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, they're gonna piss off somebody bad
Yeah.
enough that they're gonna create the seed that grows into their own nemesis.
Yeah.
And then it's personal. Then it's
I-
not something you have to shoehorn them into. It's the consequences of their own actions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which
a
always
similar
breaks
like
the-
a vein. Something that's helped me with like planning stuff like that. It's like I focus more on like not like writing out a story, but like okay, character motivations. What does this
Yeah.
character want? Why are they doing what they're doing? And that kind of like drives more of my storytelling. And like okay, like it's not like okay, how do I get to point A to point B? How would this character react if this player did this? And that's gonna drive my story more so often or not.
Yeah. And the crazy
Absolutely.
thing is when you have no idea when they're going to react. Like my buddy Genma, his character was told not that long ago that the true story of how his adopted mother found him. And I was like, this is either going to go like completely fine and he's going to hug her and tell her it's okay and he forgives her, or he's going to like be super fucking pissed and rage out. And he fucking not only raged, but like he grabbed the teacup that he made her as a child and he crushed it into dust in front of her. Like,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
Oh.
thematic. He's like,
Ow.
you destroyed my childhood, and now I destroy the physical
Yeah.
embodiment. Ooh.
and the worst part of that was like, so they asked, why didn't you tell me? Why did you lie? And she said, because by the time you were old enough for me to tell you, you were my son and I loved you and I didn't want to lose you. And he showed her what she lost. Her
Ooh.
exact fear came true.
Mhm.
The cup
It
says
was
world's
beautiful.
best mom on it.
Yes.
Yeah. It was
Mhm.
emotional as shit. I love those emotional moments. That just
Damn.
they just hit.
Mhm.
Yeah, Yeah, I said earlier. I take it. Blue's looking to DM. What were you gonna say, Jayla?
I don't know if she's DM'd a one shot before, and it actually came out pretty freaking sick. But I don't know if she's asking for her or she's doing
Asking for a friend.
or if she's doing it because she knows. This is I gotta say, like, as far as relationship dynamics go, she has been such an amazing support in this process and in this undertaking, which I don't think I would have been able to even start exploring these avenues and expanding and kind of testing the waters on these things had it not been for, one, her support, and two, her telling me to shut the hell up and quit being so overthinking about it and just do it. So I got to give her a huge shout out for that, because she is phenomenal, and I am a very lucky man to have her.
Jedi, did you have a person like that for you to get you pushed through DMing?
I think for me it would probably be like one of my best friends, Adam, because like he was one of our like DMs like for the channel, and like he was definitely like a support system for that. And then like he introduced me to some like actual plays to watch, and like and a lot. And my friend Clant also like gave me access to the system, the modules and the books and source material. So like I honestly just had a really good friend group to help with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. Cap, I know.
I mean, yeah.
There's all of us.
Specifically you. In general, just pushing to take the ideas that I have and put them into practice. My wife is the one who's like, "You're brilliant, but your brilliance can only shine if you turn it on and let everybody else see it."
Yeah.
Aww.
And then so, but the 12-year, the now 14-year-old, wanting to give her the opportunity. Like, it was this thing, like, I have to get over my discomfort because it's going to be a cool thing for her to do, and I want to be able to provide that space for her.
So you kind of used a little proxy move, like, oh, it's I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for her, so it's okay.
Right. Well, and I made sure to DM for kids who hadn't played before, so they wouldn't know how crappy I was if I sucked.
Why do you think I play with new players all the time?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, like, too, like, you guys having played together before and being each other's influence in a lot of this, that it very much the same with me and my DM from my campaign, having those people who have done it, who are seasoned veterans in the role of DM, there to one, encourage you, two, tell you to quit being stupid and get out of your own head, but three, to use as that resource and that sounding board, to kind of let you know, like, okay, no, I love that train of thought, dig into that a little bit more, or no, I think you're really overthinking that. I think dial it back a little bit and maybe focus in this area a little bit more, because you're on the right I think you have a good train of thought, but I think you're overcomplicating it because you're overthinking it.
Well, apparently Wolfpack says if it wasn't for you, his world would still be in a notebook.
Aww.
So
I'm not going to cry on a stream in front of people that I don't know.
Will you?
Your DM is, you're not even playing, and your DM is going to make you cry.
Wolfpack, the relationship that I have been able to develop with Wolfpack is so special, and it's so unique, and it's so, like, there was some cosmic connection and forces that kind of drew our paths to cross and meet. I'm gonna take a little bit, tell a little bit of backstory, kind of my journey through D&D, to kind of get to why this is so significant.
Yes, please.
But I started this journey with D&D well over 10 plus years ago. My best friend at the time was a huge D&D nerd, and he was the one that got me into the game, introduced me to the basics and the basic mechanics and rules, gave me my first 2 sets of dice, and we started working on a campaign that he had put together, ran like 2 sessions, and then that very typical scheduling conflicts and life happened, and campaign fell apart. And over the years, like he and I had kind of drifted apart, would be hit and miss in contact, but had always talked about getting something else going, getting the group back together. And that guy who's like a big brother to me, unfortunately, lost him in a car accident. So never got to do that. Fast forward 10 plus years later, and through just a series of video posts and people in common kind of getting some conversation started, we met Wolfpack, and Wolfpack volunteered to put a game together for myself, Blue, D&D Nerdy Girl, Mamie, and some of our other friends. And here we are 2 years later. The crazy ironic thing about all of that was that the guy who introduced me to the game was a biker, and his road name was Wolf. And
no shit.
how the universe knew that there was this connection there and brought this amazing human being that is Wolfpack Dice into our lives, into my life. It literally changed my love for the game in such a way. Like, I could play this game every day and
Yep.
never get bored with it. And it's because,
That's so beautiful.
it's just crazy.
I got into it because a bunch of friends wanted me to play, and I'm like, I don't know, sure, all right. And then I played like 3 or 4 sessions, and then I was like, I'm gonna try DMing, and yeah, here we are. We actually lost one of those players, not to a car accident, but yeah. And so that kind of solidified, like, I'm gonna keep playing because he can't. So,
Yeah. And that's like one thing I did with my one shot, and something that I will continue to do, is there is a character named Wolf Howl who is a staple character that transcends
actually gonna
whatever setting that the
is he
game
in your
takes place
game
in.
now?
He's in my game.
So
He is a dwarf, a dwarf Oath of Devotion paladin.
there you go. We actually have another question. If you don't mind me asking, never. What is one of your worst DMing experiences? How did it make you a better DM? I feel like the good and fun times are talked about a lot, but the bad isn't brought up as much.
All mine were great.
Yeah, so
your vast experience.
technically, J-Lo's best experience was also his worst experience.
Worst experience, because it was the only experience so far.
Aw.
Yeah. What about Nerdy? Yeah. What about you?
I don't think I've ever had a horrific, horror story. It just where I was DMing and something went horribly wrong.
Always on the receiving
I
end as a
need a
player.
thesaurus today, apparently. But I think one of the things that I picked up from a DM that I had that was a good DM was he always asked for suggestions and criticisms, like, is there something I could have done better? And I really enjoyed that aspect because it taught me that if I do something wrong, it's okay. We can talk about it. We can retcon anything. Next session, come in and suggest, hey, this is not okay. This is not happening again. We've learned this. We're moving forward. But I think because I've always played with like a bunch of friends, that we're all very understanding and we all love each other anyway. So we're going to respect each other. I remember now. The only time I've had a horrible DMing experience was when I started a D&D club at a middle school. And I loved those kids to death. COVID hit, and of course we had to stop. And when we finally went back to school, they were asking, are we going to do the D&D club again? And I said, no, because I'm sorry,
No.
that was too much. That I had trouble saying no to these kids. So I had two
Aw.
groups that would meet once a week, and there were like 12 kids in every group. That
Mm.
none of them knew how to play. It was fun and intense, but I had 12-year-olds boys that were trying to find like a girlfriend to Riz in their D&D game, and I went, no, I'm sorry.
Mm.
They're like, why? Because I
Oh.
have to role play that. No.
Because I'm not
So-
flirting with you.
I got a little traumatized from that one. So no, I've never done a middle school D&D
Fair
club again.
enough. Fair enough. Cap,
I was at first I was like, no, I don't think I ever have, and then I remembered the third session the kids played.
it's always
and it
like,
did-
no, I didn't have. Wait.
Yeah.
Back down.
Again, middle schoolers, but it was a session where we made a spot for an additional player, who turned out to be very much a classic problem player type of situation. And the thing that I realized I wasn't doing was I was giving him too much latitude. I wasn't like, when he would try to do stuff that was out of line, I wasn't like, just no, we're not doing that. Like, I let things play out and tried to accommodate them in the story, and it eventually came out fine. He has not come back, and the rest of us have sort of talked about that. It's not the issue was just that the game that he wanted to play was not the game they wanted to play, which is perfectly fine. That's why we're not going to intermingle those characters.
Yeah. What about you, Jedi? Jedi, you still there?
I
Okay.
ran a game back then when like I was still very new to DMing, and I had a player who. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We're good.
Hello.
Hi.
I think there's a 5
Oh,
second
okay, cool.
Jedi.
I had a game I was running, and I had a player who had like. Oh, is there? Sorry. I had a player who was like, had like main character syndrome, and like really did like take away the spotlight from a lot of people, and I had to like learn to like put my foot down, say no, stuff like that.
Yeah, I had my experience is similar. Like the entire, so we played 2 campaigns together, and the entire last arc was all about, not all about, but mostly about his character, and everything was great. And then the next campaign came along, and we were in another character's character arc, and so that the spotlight was on them for a bit, and he was not real cool about that in a lot of ways. And so we were just like, yeah, don't come back. Yeah. That was my worst.
See, and that's the difficult
It's
thing
cooperative,
about
cooperative storytelling. I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
absolutely, and that's
Right.
that's the hard thing. Like Cap, to your point, it's like, everyone has kind of the basic idea of what they want and what they want out of the game and how they want to play the game, but it's those player character specific things and the way that they want to play through that, how they interact with the world, how they conduct themselves within that world, what choices they're going to make within the world, that kind of make or break how that vibes and jives with the rest of the party. And sometimes, it's having that hard conversation of, hey, look, I get it, this is what you're wanting out of your experience, and unfortunately that's not the type of game that I'm trying to run. That is not the type of game that the rest of the party is looking to experience or have.
Right.
It's okay to have a disagreement about that, and it's okay to not always see eye to eye on those things, because you're never going to. I mean, conflict is inevitable, but it's being able to have those conversations in a respectful way, and in a way where everyone walks away understanding that no one's necessarily in the wrong, unless they're just acting in a way that is just outright brutish and inappropriate. But being able to have those conversations, have that understanding, and then walk away from it knowing, no harm, no foul. It's just two different vibes are being expected, and as the DM, you have every right to pump the brakes on that and say, hey, let's have a conversation around this and find out exactly what you're looking for and what you're wanting to accomplish and get out of this. Because if we're not on the same page, then maybe this isn't the game for you. And I wish you the best of luck and hope you find a game that better fits the experience that you're looking to get out of it.
I'm gonna steal that, by the way, in case
I want to piggyback off of that too. I see that Blues asked a question, but I really want to piggyback off of that and say to anyone out there who is a DM or thinking about being a DM, session 0. It is a necessity.
Oh yeah.
It is so important. That's where you're going to bring in everybody and make sure you're all on the same page, and you're not going to have that broody rogue in the corner of the tavern who doesn't want to deal with anybody and is like, okay, well, they're going on the adventure without you, so what are you doing?
Before we get to
so
Blue's question there was actually a different one that didn't come up for some reason. The question was, what or who have been your favorite monster or villains?
To run or to run as a DM or a player?
I assume as a DM.
Oh, okay.
So, you Jedi, what about you? Waiting for the sound. Okay.
Maybe he's actually not there.
Mm.
Can you hear us, Jedi?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I had to reload real quick.
No, you're good. I figured we did that. No, we had the same problem with Taco a while back. It's fine. The question was, what was your favorite monster or villain to use?
Oh, God, am I up first or someone else asked you to answer? Would they like prefer like from my monster manual or like a villain I've made? Like, which answer do you want?
That's up to you. Whatever's your favorite.
I am obsessed with beholders. I love beholders so much. And I know like xenophobia isn't great, but the isolation of xenophobia is so funny to me. The idea of like a beholder will go, I have 2 yellow spots and you have 1 yellow spot. Therefore, you're not a good beholder. Like, that's so funny to me. Like, I think that's such a fun chance for role play. All the eye beams are so fun. I had a beholder fight in my Tomb of Annihilation campaign, and it was so cool. I think there's such a unique design. Like, I am obsessed with beholders.
The only time I used a beholder was there was a player bragging about how he had a 24 AC. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Beholder.
Oh shit!
It's all saving throws. Have fun, buddy.
No.
How's that AC treating you now, buddy?
That's literally what I'll think about if I'm building a character and I'm like, oh, I want to make sure it's got a real high AC and a lot of hit points. My immediate next thought is, yes, but what if I get taken over and turned against my party?
Yeah, that's it.
Ouch.
Well, Cap, what was yours?
I'm pretty fond of Orison. Orison, that whole scenario, Orison and the 9-soul creature,
good.
That was pretty cool. The 9-soul, I will not take credit for. That was Nimwe's creation. I helped her tweak it a little bit, and we planned on throwing that in there together. And yeah.
What about you, Nerdy?
Well, as a creature, I'm obsessed with dragons, but my favorite villain I've ever made is only my favorite because of something my player did. Back to the Candlekeep thing that I mentioned earlier, the 2 minions of the BBG were a man and a woman, married couple, and so my players didn't know their names, so they just dubbed them the bitch and the bastard. And they had killed them in a fight later on in the campaign, not knowing that the BBG had used the clone spell on them. So they were going to come back. They didn't know that.
Oh, no.
I had a playlist that was just random meme songs that have come up because of the campaign. And I put the Nickelback song, Bitch Came Back, on the And I
This
was
is
playing it,
great.
just, we're chilling, hanging out, before the session. And one of my players starts singing to the song. The bitch came back the very next day. And I'm just sitting there with that miniature behind my DM screen, like, yep. She lost it when that character came back. And it was about an hour after the game was over and we're still hanging out. And she went, "You let me sing to that song." Yep.
What about you, JLo?
I mean the BBEG for the one shot that I put together was this variant human sorcerer warlock multi-class called the Jackal, and they were such a fun, not even so much playing them as it was building them, trying to figure out what elements to pour into this character. To make, playing them was so much fun because being able to experience the party's reaction when this character finally makes their appearance was super awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think majority of it was that campaign was a lot of undead that they dealt with. The first encounter was a group of gnolls, a war pack of gnolls, but it was. I love gnolls. Gnolls are one of my favorite, one of my favorite things to fight, and just in general, I just love the whole concept behind them. But yeah, there's this homebrew BBEG called the Jackal, and I love that character.
So I'm sure so many people have what my answer is. They think they know my answer is either going to be Strahd or the BBEG that I use in almost all of my campaigns. Mel, who is kind of like a evil wizard dude. There's more to him than that, but no, my favorite enemy that I've ever used was I had a stat block that I found and I used it, and it was actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. And the players didn't expect it, and it came out of nowhere.
Damn it!
They were in the woods, and I played the song, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening?" And I'm like, "You look up and you see him, actual cannibal.
Do
it!
Just
That was my favorite. That was my
fun.
favorite, 100%.
You know what else? You know what else I did in the kids' first session? I just had this they were level 1, this very basic, like, go fight some bandits, and then it turned into this campaign. 14 sessions later, they're level 5 and they're coming back from a dragon fight, and on the road back into town, the same bandits are there, and they are revenants, and so they got to fight the same bad guys over again, which was such a cool bookend to that arc.
We have another question. Homebrewing a campaign, in your experience, what are some key factors considering when story building? Wait until all of your players have their backstories and build it with that.
Dear God, yeah.
That's the tip.
Ooh.
That's it. I mean,
that does help a lot.
Yeah. And then kind of like I said, just, follow the steps of, like, who's the BBEG, what's he want, and what does he got to do to get it. Boom. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all you need. Have fun from there. You don't even have to build
with
everything
one town.
out. Yeah, you just need one town.
Start with one town. Don't worry, it's not a whole world. It's one town, and then as they go out, well, okay, well then there's this out here, and there's this out here, and there's this. This is the next town over.
Piece of cake. It sounds.
I don't
bad
feel
to
like
say, but easy question.
I don't feel like you can use the term piece of cake ever again and it have the same meaning that it normally would. Just, I'm sorry.
If anybody is listening to Homebrew a World, when I was doing mine, I followed a YouTuber named Guy. I'm looking at it right now. His channel is called How to Be a Great GM.
Oh yeah.
So many good
Mm.
tips. And he broke down like the antagonist's whole plan to, this is where I am, this is what I want, this is what I need to get there, this is why I'm having a hard time doing it. And if you can figure out those little bullet points, it is so easy to figure out your whole campaign around that. And just he has other tips like how to make your world more like alive. When your players leave a village and then they come back, things have changed, right? Like,
Yeah, things are
you know,
always
horrible
changing.
mayor.
Things are always happening.
Yeah,
Mhm.
things
Yeah.
are always happening whether your players are there or not, and
There's
it's wonderful. He had a lot of good tips. I just recommend.
with that, like like if there's a quest going on that they could come get to, like it doesn't just sit there and wait for them to get done. Like if they were going to need to like take care of these gnolls who were going to attack this town, if they don't, and they're like, well, we're gonna go and do this real quick, and then we'll come back and do it. While you were gone, the gnolls attacked, guys. You fucking
Yeah.
The,
You walked away.
It's not a video game. Things are happening.
Also, for if you building your homebrew around the villain, the most important thing to remember is the villain is the hero. The
Of his
villain
own
is the
story, yeah.
hero of their own story. And so the whole idea of like, what do I want? What's in the way? It's in the exact same way that your characters are coming up with, this is what I want, this is what I have to do to get it. The antagonist, no bad guy thinks they're the bad guy.
You know what
Like,
the
they're-
funnest thing
they're-
about that quote right there? Watching J-Lo's gears start spinning.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that.
Yeah.
I watched that happen. Like,
Because it's important to remember, hero does not mean good guy. It's the main character. The antagonist is the protagonist of their story. The good guys, your players, are the antagonists of your BBEG story.
Perspective. It's all about
no.
the perspective.
Next question. Should I feel bad about inadvertently breaking what was supposed to be a challenging encounter by using the tools I was given by the DM? No.
No. Yeah, not at all.
Use what you have.
I can say,
just a little.
I mean, I can say,
A little bit.
As a DM, we're gonna sit there and be like, "You motherfucker," and it's gonna suck. But like, we're all so proud of you.
It's
Well, and
funny,
I-
like as a DM, I do play up the like, oh, you got me, like aspect of it, but like it is in jest to like, you know, add into like, oh, you're gonna. It's like when I do combat, I do like I am like I watch a lot of pro wrestling, so like I am the heel playing up like being the bad guy as a DM and the NPCs. So when they actually do beat me, they're all like, yeah, we got him.
Yeah. And just always remember to have, as a DM, remember to have minions ready. You may not use them,
Yeah.
just have them ready.
Always been.
well, and it's like what I've experienced as a player with, you know, the encounters that we've had in our campaign, and it's something that Wolfpack has acknowledged. Was he was like, you know, I think I may have spoiled you guys a little bit too much with the items that I gave you at the beginning of this campaign, and made you a little too OP. So he's like, you guys have been blowing through higher CR monsters at levels that you shouldn't be because of the things that you have. But all that means is that as a DM, I need to get more creative about the encounters that I create for you. It's awesome to see you guys having the wins, but it's looking at it and then realizing, okay, how do I create an experience moving forward that is both rewarding but challenging, that they don't feel like they're skating through it, but they don't feel like I'm sitting here trying to TPK them every time they come up against an encounter.
Yeah. With that too, it's also like wonderful to set up a encounter for them to dog walk, for them to feel bad. When I think the way it was put to me from somebody was like, say if they had a fight with gnolls when they were level 2 and they almost died and it was very, very difficult. Level 7, have them encounter another pack of gnolls and watch them just wreck shit, and they will feel powerful, like they've got somewhere, and
Oh, absolutely.
can't always have them like almost dead. And plus, like
Yeah.
we've said before, you can't plan for anything, or plan for everything. The encounter from Roll for Cake from last session, that was a very deadly encounter. That they just
For your bad guys.
yeah. Yeah, it just what they did worked, and I wasn't ready for that. I was like, well, I didn't expect that to happen, but okay. Mountain of Mystery, they did the same kind of thing. They had to break into the sanatorium, and I had all these things, traps and things set up that they would have to get by and sneak into. There was a lot of different ways that they could do it, and they were like, let's give the super sneaky monk who always rolls good on stealth and an invisibility thing, a cloak of elven kind that we have amongst us, the boots of elven kind that we have amongst us. Give it to all of him. Cast a bunch of breathing spells. All get into the bag of holding, and he walks in by himself with the bag of holding.
Oh my god.
And I'm like,
I'm sorry, Red.
yeah, that works. Sure. What up, Jedi?
I had a maze encounter where it's like, now you have to go through my maze, tee hee hee, and then like they legit just
Fireball.
guessed it and got the maze perfectly in one go.
Oh,
I
Oh,
stared at my
God.
board and like they just guessed. They're like, we're gonna go left, we're gonna go right, go straight, and they got the perfect route on
Son
the
of a
first try. And I
bitch.
was just like,
oh.
I was behind my screen, like, how did you do that?
like you're like, what the fuck? But also like, kind of proud.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Well, that's the
I'm like,
first
who-
encounter that I made for the flashback sequence for the parents. They had just fought their black dragon, and so the idea was, what are the repercussions of that? And I guess in a way, like if your party goes in to fight a dragon and they just destroy it in the first half hour, okay, that was an encounter. Now you start thinking, well, what are the repercussions of that? And so the first encounter for the parents was, well, they beat the dragon, but a couple of the dragon's minions were out of town on a mission, and they came back and they're pissed off. And so they come into town
They
as you
came
guys
after
are
us.
leaving. You now have a follow-up encounter that maybe wasn't the first thing, but it's like this is a consequence of what you've already done.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with that. As a player, what is your favorite background you made? My wizard, or no, actually, my barbarian, Gareth. He was super strong and he was pretty smart. Like I think he had like a 16 intelligence, and I decided like he was a super duper dragon nerd, and it was because like he was raised, Goliath, barbarian, all that. But he ended up meeting a silver dragon who taught him how to read and use his head as well as his hammer. So, yeah, that was fun. What about you, JLo?
It's got to be Quill. It's my Tabaxi, swashbuckler rogue Pact of the Celestial Warlock multi-class.
Puss in Boots?
Pretty much Puss in Boots with a little bit of magic. And that was the kind of the cool thing. The thing I loved about this character is the realm, the part of the world that he's from. His father, it's very like nomadic, tribal kind of vibe. His father's the shaman of said tribe, so he's like the spiritual head for the tribe. My character's bloodline is inherently magical. My character, though, was born with 0 magical ability. And for that, he was ostracized and picked on and shunned by most of the community, including his own mother, which is why he ended up becoming a swashbuckler, because he left and decided he wanted to see what was beyond the Nimbus wilds that he lived in. And that's how the whole warlock part of it came into play. Was one of the gods in the pantheon in this world identified the potential for the arcane in his blood and offered the opportunity to unlock that with a pact. So that's kind of how my character came to be what it was. But I loved that whole background of creating.
My buddy
This-
says, so he's Mirabelle from Encanto.
Yeah, pretty much. That is spot on. But yeah, I love that character. I love playing that character. It has been so much fun to do and to play. But yeah, that's
What
That's it
about
in
you,
a nutshell.
Nerdy?
God, there's a lot. There's a few that I'm not going to talk about on stream because
Fair.
of triggers, traumatic backstories. I think one of my favorite characters to play personality-wise from their background is a noble girl who was raised to be the heir of the family until a son came along. And she was basically going to get married off.
Yeah.
Something happened at one point where she ended up getting kidnapped and tried to use for ransom. And during the attack, she got a vicious scar to her face, like half Joker. And
ooh.
her father basically called her useless after that because now he can't even marry her off. So she picked up the sword and just went off to go prove herself. And I love playing her because she's just always she's very gruff on the outside, but is tender on the inside. I think maybe my favorite overall is my halfling rogue. Grew up on a farm, and she was a single mother. One year, she couldn't pay the taxes on the farm because of a drought, and basically the tax collector took her house, and because she was homeless, her daughter was given up to the orphanage. And she had heard horror stories about what that orphanage does to young girls. So her whole goal was, I'm going to go steal money however I can so I can afford to get my daughter back.
Cap, what about you?
Really?
Yeah.
I still like. I've loved all of my characters' backstories. I go back to Leander though. He was the first. He was the one that I think was the most like me because he was the first character I built. And I feel like our first characters out the gate tend to be the most like us because we don't know what else we're doing. So we're like, I'm just gonna do what I know.
Facts.
But his was also a sort of noble-ish, but also sort of mafia-ish family. He was the youngest of like 8 or 9 kids. And so he didn't know what his family was into because he was the youngest and, he wasn't involved. Mother was an aberrant mind sorcerer. Father did not have a class of any kind, but was had dealings with, the criminal world and also demonic world. His mother had died when he was younger, and then when he was in his upper teens, his father died, at which point his older siblings started scrambling for power within the family, and he used that opportunity to peace out, and has from then on just been wandering and living on his own. He is the artificer. He is the one who built the Steel Defender Hummingbird.
And then Jedi. Ouch.
So one comes to mind is my paladin, Caldra Dretnus, who was a guy who stood up to the patriarchs of Baldur's Gate, but was kicked out because he did that. Found a roving band of paladins, and he joined them for a bit and learned the ways to becoming a paladin. But then that group became corrupt from the inside because there was a bad seed in there. And then he ended up trying to stand no, we need to do the right paladin thing. And they ended up trying to kill him. He then went on the run, but now because he had those 2 failures, he couldn't use his paladin powers because he didn't believe in himself anymore. So he was this like
Ooh.
guy with the paladin skills. He didn't break his oath, they were still there, but he couldn't access them because he did not believe that he was worthy of them anymore.
Ouch.
He was the unworthy Thor.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I love playing Calger.
About my characters. As a player, I don't think I ever have had traumatic backstory. It's always like he came from a loving family, they supported him, everything's great. His parents are alive, like everything's fine. The closest I've
Are
gotten
you even
to,
playing D&D?
the closest I've gotten to the tragic backstory is my Goliath wizard, who like he was born and raised blacksmith, and during some wizard guy needed his horse reshoed when he was coming through town. So in the middle of doing that, the guy was reading, and my character was like, "Oh, hey, what are you reading?" And then fell in love with magic. And when he left to go to the wizard school that's nearby, his father is not happy about it, because he was supposed to take on the family trade. And he does have a brother who also like is kind of pissed that he's going, but also just kind of ambiguous about it. And then mom really supports him because like you're doing something you want to do, and it's fine. But his relationship with his dad is a little rocky, but like it's fine.
Yeah, it's typical. Dad had a plan for you. You decided to chase your own dreams.
Yeah, and the hard part is soon we'll be heading back to my hometown, and we'll have to deal with that.
Ooh.
Times gross.
Hey, Dad, how you doing? But like to like for him to make up for that, he did learn a lot of spells that helps in the forge: Unseen Servant, Mage Hand, Control Flames, all this stuff. So hey, look what I learned! I can help.
Right. There are many roads to the same ending.
Yeah. We did get another question, and we are coming up on 2 hours, so we'll answer this question real quick. Who is your favorite NPC to play in your games, and how often do you put them in the storyline just so you can play them? Mel, almost always, because I fucking love playing Mel. He is a bastard. He's a piece of shit, and I love playing him.
I couldn't
We
tell.
love watching you. We love watching you play him. We hate him, but we love watching you play him.
Everybody hates Mel, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love watching you play Mel simply because I don't have to be the one experiencing the consequences of dealing with Mel.
Yeah.
The fun thing about Mel that I discovered through Cap and I talking, he's like, well, the reason you're so good at playing Mel is you. I'm like, well, I mean, he's a little bit of a self-insert, you know, and he's like, no, he's you and like a lot of your past trauma stuff. And I'm like, oh.
Oh.
I had to face a lot of things that day.
Oof.
Oh, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've had that conversation. All of our characters are us. They're usually one piece of us that we want to explore in a larger way, but they're all us.
Mel's pieces of me that I'd rather not be. And then I'm not anymore, thankfully. D&D is my outlet for that kind of bullshit. What about you, Jedi?
For me, I'm gonna have to go to my superhero campaign, Cool Force.
Yeah.
where we had this Gorilla Grodd, Ultra Humanite-esque villain named Dr. Simeon, who blackmailed one of my player characters with information to get him to do some bidding, made the player character cross the line, and he killed him. But then another player needed him to save someone in his backstory, so he brought Dr. Simeon back to life behind that player's back. So Dr. Simeon is still around and kind of like being hidden, but now he's like kind of like being like a dick and like saying like, "Hey, I'm alive and I might tear apart your team." So it's like
Holy
fun
crap.
to be this like very. It's fun being this very smart gorilla who's like, ha ha ha, like, you know, and like texting him, like, and being a troll on his phone and knowing he can't say anything to the rest of the team because, you know, he betrayed their trust.
I
That
love
is
it.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I threw in a couple in that one shot, but my favorite right now is I have a Minotaur who is a traveling merchant, but he's not good at his job. He has a very low intelligence, and he speaks as if he's learning common. He speaks very slow, and he has to stop and choose the right word. He doesn't math well, so that players could easily take advantage of him. But he is such a himbo that he could ask 4 gold for something, they'll give him 200. They love him. But the reason he's a traveling merchant is he has a wardrobe, like a full-on 6-foot wardrobe that he tied to his back and carries it around. And it used to belong to his wizard friend who passed away. And every time you open the wardrobe, there's something new in there. Some sort of magic item or weapon or just something
I
random.
might have to steal that.
He has no idea what's in there until he opens it up, but he also has no idea what they're worth. So sometimes he pulls out like a really good looking stick, and it's just a stick, but he loves that stick
I'd
so
pay
much.
as much
He
gold
just
as you need.
he tries to sell it.
A good stick is hard to find, okay?
Mhm.
But if the players are like, yeah, I need some arrows, what you got? He's like, I don't know. Let's look.
Let's find out.
Yep.
What about you, Cap?
So the problem player kid, the character that he played, after that player did not come back, I turned him into an NPC because they were in an environment where the character couldn't just leave. And then a couple episodes later, I had that character sacrifice himself for the team and turned him into a phantom. So now he gets to come back as essentially a spirit, a ghost, whenever I feel like using him. He's popped up a few times. He's popped up a few times and helped and given cryptic information and taunted, and you know, he's whatever he needs to be.
That's cool.
And J-Lo, do you have a favorite NPC that you plan on using?
I'd say it's got to be Wolf.
Yeah.
Wolf definitely is my favorite because in game I get to create that supportive, guiding light type character that he was for me in real life, and I think that is such a cool way to honor his legacy in a sense. So that is definitely my favorite one that I plan to continue to use. But with mine, every NPC was based off of someone I knew in real life.
I tend to do that a lot too.
One of my favorites that I created was a pair of Aarakocra twins, but they were different color schemes, and they were based off of a good friend of mine's partner who has a personality disorder where she presents different personalities, and I gave each of her personalities a character in the game that they helped run the tavern together, which was kind of one of those things that I was like, one of the things I wanted to do that let her know that I saw her for her and saw both sides of her and acknowledged both sides. I think those were two of the favorites that I created, but my favorite to play is Wolf for sure.
All right. Well, with all that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Lo and Jedi, first time on the show. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, this is
Hey,
a lot of fun. And apparently,
thank
I've
you.
100% decided we need to have
Same. Thank you
Wolfpack
so much for the
on
invite.
here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was
Oh.
actually gonna message you after this and be like, dude, you need to have Wolfpack on here. He is such
Yeah.
a wellspring of knowledge.
Yeah, and well, even
Mm.
Blue said
We need
uh,
everyone back. I mean, we've got 42 people in here, and they're saying that they've
apparently
loved
we're popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
It's very
Uh,
useful. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Blue said something about we always have so much fun getting to talk shop. We could talk for hours if you let. Yeah, no shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What? That's
Yeah.
that's not even just a DM thing. That's just a nerd thing.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be real, guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%.
I want to do this again, but the whole premise is we're just going to do a homebrew world, BBG and all, and we're just going to spitball it and make it up
Just
while we
5
watch.
different BBEGs.
That would be
Just-
so fun. Yeah.
Just workshop. Yeah, like a DM workshop. A DM workshop.
on one story.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
And real quick, before we hop off here too, where can we find everybody? Lo, where can we find you?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram and here on Twitch. Same handle for all three at JLO_FETT_JLOFET. There will also be a Discord coming up here at some point pretty soon, and possibly a Patreon to start chronicling and sharing the behind the scenes of this mini series that I'm going to be building.
Awesome.
And then Cap.
You can find me on OnlyFans, and that's a lie. I'm on TikTok.
Is it
Cap
a
without a
lie?
country.
Is
Is it a lie? Guess you'll have to check.
So usually he's Cap without a country, but the OnlyFans is Cap without clothes.
That's
So
Cap of that
Cap,
pencil.
Cap with only a shield. Yeah, no, Cap without a country on TikTok. I'm starting to migrate my stuff over to YouTube also. So I have my link tree in on TikTok, so all my other stuff is in there. Mostly TikTok.
and Nerdy.
Sorry, somebody said, "What's the link?"
That's my buddy. That's my buddy Monk. He is the resident thirst lord of the friend group.
I've been seeing.
Yep.
Apparently, you give
Anyway,
some wonderfully wet kisses, Lo.
Apparently.
That are just
Apparently.
We need to talk to this person. All right, Nerdy Teacher on TikTok. I will also be a guest at MomoCon if anyone's in the Atlanta area late May. If you want to come and say hi, I'll be doing panels and miniature painting workshops.
Oh hell yeah, that's awesome.
And Jedi.
Hi, I'm the Jedi Smark. Everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I have a podcast called Ha! It's a podcast on all the other podcast spaces.
I love
Yeah, yeah. You can find it on Spotify. The creepy guy who's selling Dungeon Master guides up behind your library, and all that kind of stuff. It's great
That
time.
guy's got the hookups. That guy's got the
Yeah.
hookups.
Do not talk about Norse that way when he's not here.
Oh.
That is not okay.
I'll also be at
Would
Fan
be
Expo
nice.
Philly in a few weeks. So if anyone's gonna be at Fan Expo Philly, please.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you guys. Oh yeah, me. Hi, I'm Tanis. Obviously here on Twitch. I do have an Instagram and then YouTube. And if you're not finding Tanis Jr., you can find it on Crypts and Cryptids, which is the group of people that we all play with. And we have a lot of good times. Fun fact for anyone who hasn't seen a show of mine, I'm terrible at ending shows. So I kind of just go like, hey, bye. And then that's the end of the show. So like everybody say goodbye.
We love you.
Bye guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. We love-